You know, there's nothing in my particular commission's proposal with regard to job creation and how to get more businesses to come to Virginia. Having said that, though, there are things within Governor Allen's plate which will do that. The governor has been successful in getting Apple Corporation here and expanding Volvo. Several other major corporations are coming in. We have a statement around Richmond that Virginia is once again open for business. That's not to say it wasn't before, but that's a statement. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that there are other parts of the community which need to also weigh in here. The reform of welfare will not do everything. And what we're finding is that we need to engage those other segments of the community. And in your case, it's the business community, it's as Debbie referenced before, we need to make more federal funds available so we can utilize them properly. There are several things we need to do more efficiently. Having said all that, though, all those things that we're trying to do with regard to bringing businesses and bringing jobs to Virginia, with regard to making an economic climate which is more amenable to business growth and business success. Having said all that, you know, we still, you know, we can only do what we can do, and certainly I would hope that those things will make it more lucrative.
Can I add two things? The first is that my original education was in nursing, and I have a master's degree. I'm a registered nurse, former director of nursing at the Medical College of Virginia. My father pulled me aside in 1966 and said, "You're going to nursing school because you will always have a job." Okay, well, that's not true anymore.
Right.
And no one can make a guarantee to you that you will in fact be in X profession and therefore you will not be susceptible to what's going on around us. The second thing I would say is do not anticipate the government is going to employ you. Okay? Governments are getting smaller. Governor Allen has called for, or his Reform on Government Commission has called for 16,000 people cut in state government. The thing I would also say about that, and it goes back to those of you who've taken sociology, groups that enter the mainstream tend to do that through government employment. And that has been in the past, whether you were the cop on the beat or you worked for the city or for the state, that was a way that you entered the mainstream. You cannot assume that that avenue is going to be available to you anymore. I think we would agree that clearly governments will get smaller, not larger.
Okay, we have to cut this off. We were supposed to stop at 2:30. We have a couple more questions, and if they could be brief, we would appreciate it. First, we're going to ask Willie, who is our student liaison.
I think if we're up on our history and in government, back in 1956, a fund was put aside for interstates and highways. To obviously give us our interstate highway system that we have now. As of 1991, that program had stopped, basically. And with an excess of about $155 billion, which is earmarked for different communities who come in compliance with certain environmental codes, well then I think just about 10% of that those funds go to those communities that are in compliance. And this is from renovations, beautifying your city, graffiti, and whatever else they can want to do, more murals, whatever. But there is a large number of cities that are not in compliance with the tests that they give for those environmental experiments, and that money is just basically sitting dormant. Has either the Lieutenant Governor's office or the Governor's office looked at these funds? I mean, because obviously the city of Hampton has not been in compliance for 10 years as a means of using some of those funds to sort of fund this welfare reform.
Thanks, Willie, for that short question there.
You are treading on a philosophical question that the two of us could debate for the rest of the afternoon. I don't speak for Governor Allen by any stretch, but he has philosophically said he does not want things he does not want funds from the federal government that have any kind of strings attached to them. Okay, I personally, and I know the Lieutenant Governor believes that that's short-sighted, that's cutting off your nose to spite your face. That's our personal opinion on that, but Governor Allen is the governor. He was voted into office with a very large majority by putting out that platform, and the people of Virginia said, this is what we want. They were wrong, in my opinion, but nonetheless, this is what they said. Okay?
She's done.
All right.
Can I just very quickly answer? There are several avenues that can be taken which are very similar to that one. Name a federal program, rural electrification, the ICC, the National Endowment for the Arts, and it goes on and on and on, that if we would use those dollars more, I guess prudently, we would be able to redirect them for proper use. The key there, and it's the part that Debbie mentioned, was that the strings can't come with them. We need to be able to use them in the way we see best fit. So that's the crux of the problem. Now, if we can get around that, then yeah, let's have at it.
All right. We had a question over here earlier that we didn't get a chance. I know this one here that she didn't get a chance.
That's right.
Yeah, she didn't.
Yeah.
We didn't answer the question.
Yeah, I apologize because we moved right to another thing. We talked about economic development and job creation and all those sorts of things a little bit here. Once again, we're talking about myths here and the dispelling of myths. There really, to be honest with you, there are a great deal of jobs which are out there. The problem here is that there are not a great deal of jobs for which people have been properly trained and for which people can move into easily. For example, if you open up the want ads in your local newspaper on any given Sunday, you can see that there's a plethora of nuclear physicist jobs, or that there are all sorts of jobs for medical technicians and those sorts of things. What we have not done well up to this point is to train people and direct people from kindergarten through 12th grade, to train people and direct people in the way that they need to go so that they can get jobs for the future, so they can be trained to be placed in the jobs which are going to be lucrative to them at some point in the future. We have historically, as Kay James always says, trained people to push button A and button B, and when they get out into the workforce, the buttons say C and D, and what do? And that's one of our major problems. We have, in government alone, we have jobs which we cannot fill because we don't have anybody who's trained to take those jobs. In the private sector, I have so many CEOs from Virginia companies come and say to me, if you could just find me somebody who could do this, this, and this. And the fact is that our high schools and our junior high schools and our job training programs have not been the sort of things which would give people those specific sort of skills. What has to happen is this, and I'll be very brief and I'll shut up. We need to do two things. One, we need to get people from kindergarten through 12th grade with an education that they can use to get them onto a different level. They have to be able to graduate from high school in the first place, able to read, write, speak, and think, so that they can move through different jobs. I have flown airplanes in the Navy. I have worked on Capitol Hill. I'm working with welfare reform in the state of Virginia, and it's not as, this is my personal story, it's not as if I ever went to school for any of this except for the fly airplanes. It's not as if I went to school specifically to do those things, it's because I had the base, the foundation, educationally to do those things. And people who have that base foundation of educational skills have a much higher propensity to succeed. And then the second thing is that businesses need to come to schools. And businesses need to come to governments and say, this is what we need out here in the workforce. And this is what you need to do to get people trained to that point. And if we can do those two things, then we'll be much more successful. And that's not something we can do in 2 or 5 years. I think that's something that's an evolutionary change. But in answer to your question, the jobs are out there. It's just that we need to redirect our resources and our efforts.
Mr. Brown, we have one more question, and we're going to wrap it up at that point, okay?
I just have a real quick comment. One thing about the system is it seems like it takes a lifetime to get it, but 2 seconds to cut you off. I'm a teenage mother myself, and I was receiving assistance from my daughter, but as soon as I tried to better myself and get a part-time job, I was cut off just like that. It was either that I stay on the system and receive the benefits, or work and don't get anything at all.
Yeah.
And myself, I would like to do things by myself, so I had to choose to get 2 jobs in order to support her, because a 3-year-old is going to the doctor too much, and not to have any benefits at all is hard. But I feel better about myself because I had to do it myself, and it seemed like they weren't trying to help me because it was either saying that I work and they'll pay for her to go to school, I go to work, but I mean they'll pay for her to go to school while I work, but not to go to school. I'm like, are they trying to keep me down by not trying to get an education because I can't see the benefits? I don't understand, but I just think that the system really tries to keep you down.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, that's it. That's true.
All right. Okay, I guess we have come to the close of our audience participation. And we would like to thank, in closing, we would like to thank everybody for coming out and participating, especially our panelists who have given us some great insight on the issue. The Black Student Association would like to inform the audience that on the back of your agenda, there is a form here that you can fill out to participate in a welfare committee. We are not just going to stop it at this point to just have a form. We felt that we needed to have a long-term process. The committee that will be set up will be discussing these issues in more detail and hopefully coming up with a draft or a proposal to give to the appropriate authorities to hear the opinions from students at Thomas Nelson Community College. So please, if you would like to participate on this committee, fill out the back part of this and hand it to one of the ushers here at the front desk, and we will be in contact with you. You have a question? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Okay, well, I think what we need to do is get Stacy to talk with you after the meeting so we can get with you and come up with something. I don't know what, but we can come up with something. All right, so again, if you like to participate on this committee, fill this out. It is for students, and Mrs. Diane Burton has agreed to be our advisor for the committee and help us draft this thing, so we have some good help here. Again, we'd like to thank everybody for coming out and participating in the forum, and hopefully we'll see you in the near future. Thank you.
Now, what do I need to prove?
Okay.